Hi, my name is Glenn Story, and I'm the CEO of Patriot Mobile. This Father's Day, let's take a moment to honor the men who choose to lead their families with strength, humility, and grace. We recognize that fathers, grandfathers, and mentors who reflect the love of our Heavenly Father and how they serve, protect, and guide their children and their families. The Bible gives us a clear picture of what fatherhood really looks like. As fathers, we are called to protect, guide, and provide our families using our faith as our compass, much the way Jesus led the disciples. Whether at home or in church or in our communities, fathers put family first without the need for recognition or thanks. At Patriot Mobile, we proudly stand with those who have received the blessings of fatherhood. That's why we support organizations that defend biblical values, protect our families, and advance the causes that honor our God. Use the promo code below to get your first month free when you switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative cell phone service provider. And with every call, and text you make, you'll know that you're supporting a company that believes strong fathers build strong families, and strong families build an even stronger America. Happy Father's Day, and may God bless all the fathers in our great nation.
Lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop.
Where did he go? We lost James. I'm not sure what happened to James. We were putting him on the screen and we lost him.
Yeah, we did.
He'll pop back in. Sorry. Oh, I love to play the sheriff. I had to play the sheriff again.
I like that.
Sorry, a little bit of we've had a crazy afternoon, a little bit of a choppy intro, but I wanted to play the sheriff again because as much as we love sports, and we do, we definitely have issues going on in our country and around the world. So pray for our nation, pray for the men and women in blue, military, pray for those soldiers in the Middle East.
That's right.
With all this going on, so take time to pray for them, and hopefully James. It's like Star Trek. We were beaming him up,
right,
and we lost him, and so we got to get a lock again on James and beam him back up into the program.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah, Scotty. I mean, what happened? I mean, I had my guy. He was not there. Then he was there. Then he was not there again. What's going on? I got to have him tonight.
Yeah, we do.
He's a big part of the sports show. Here he's coming back. Let's see if we can beam him up. 1 second. He's still coming in. Also, Patriot Mobile. That is the newest video they've sent us. They're amazing, and you hear me talk about it all the time. Now you hear it from them. And for Christian conservatives, I don't think there's anything, Dean, that you can find wrong in that statement.
No, there wasn't. I agree with every word of it.
In fact, if you was in church, that was an amen moment.
It was.
More than once.
Yes.
That might have been a double amen.
Amen. That's what I'm saying.
So, yeah. In fact, a lot of people are saying amen. So, anyway, we want to start out with that. We're still waiting on James to get in. It says, we missed. We've had so much going on, and we're not making complaints or even excuses.
No.
But sometimes life just gets away. I've been at a funeral this afternoon, traveling back in the crazy interstate highways. You feel like you're putting, your life is on the line when you get going out of Chattanooga into Tennessee and back. Oh, my goodness.
And 402. Highway 2A, Battlefield Parkway.
It's really crazy. I mean, I was like, what in the world is going on? Let's see if James is there. James, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, just making sure. I didn't see the picture up, so I wanted to make sure you were there. We lost you, brother.
Yeah, we did.
I think are you there?
It says I'm in the show.
Okay, your camera is off.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I'll adjust it.
We can hear you. We can't see you.
Right.
Okay.
So you're fine.
It normally works good today. It's not working good today. Let's see.
It's just been one of those days, man.
That's right.
So
there you
there we go.
Yeah. Now
it was turned off. Yeah.
Hey, it happens, man.
Yeah.
Oh, if you only saw the stuff that's happened here recently, I mean, we just had crazy stuff going on, and but it's okay. That's part of that technology thing.
Yeah, it is.
And we just do the best we can, and we move on. So, welcome. Finally, all boats are in.
Right.
All boats are in, and everybody's accounted for. If you've ever,
We're here.
and I know James has. If you've ever been on a school field trip with the little kiddos, you got so many you're counting on. 1, 2, 3. All boats are in. We're good to go. All the kiddos. So we
You
got
can't let a kid behind,
No,
no, nobody left behind.
not yet.
Although
Like at work, when you go out for the fire drill, they do the roll call. Everybody's got to be there.
Yeah, right,
that's right. Got to have the roll call. So
right,
we're checking. Hey, we're good now. So
right.
this is the Southern Fried Sports or SFP Sports, and I'm Dave, and
And Dean?
I'm James. I'm here.
I tell you, it was just a crazy afternoon.
It was.
And I had a little car trouble coming home, and then just fighting traffic all the way to up in Tennessee and back, and praying for a family who lost their mom, so it's tough, and grandma for my granddaughter. So yeah, I'll pray for them. And as I said,
you were in the other Athens. You said Athens, but I thought you meant Athens, Georgia. But you were in Athens, Tennessee. So
I had to go to enemy territory, man.
Oh,
okay.
I love all you folks up in Athens. I've got friends up there, but no, Athens, Tennessee. So if I'd been in Athens, Georgia, I wouldn't be here in the show. So that's about a 3-hour drive versus a 1 hour drive.
It's a good drive.
It's a nice drive, and there's no way from here that you can go there and shorten that trip down any. I've tried them all.
No.
You just might as well bite the bullet and go down there, hit 285, 85, that Lawrenceville Highway, and just roll in. I mean, you can go on.
My first game I went to, Georgia played Tennessee, and we went the long way around. So it took us like 5 hours to get home from road construction and things like that. So, yeah, go the interstate if you can.
That's why I didn't like late night games. There's times that we didn't get in until 2:30 in the morning. And that's rough on a boy. People say, "Well, you can sleep next day." No, we had church. Man. We're going to church, so that's just all part of it.
And that affects recruiting as well, because those parents, they don't want to drive 4 hours home on a late game. They want to be more local. Sometimes where it's within a couple of hours. So sometimes that factors in recruiting.
right.
Yeah,
2 hours is okay, but 4 hours, 5 hours, that's a long drive in the middle of the night.
It is, and there's no interstate right there, so you're taking highways and backways and every other way, trying to get back to the interstate, and hoping that the interstate is not bad. Oh, bro, let's just go ahead and let Broski. He's got a prediction here. He says Penn State's going to win the national championship this season. Big winner 3 years in a row. SEC's reign as the top conference is over. I will say, Broski, being fair, that Penn State has done very well.
Yeah.
They've recruited well. Mr. Franklin has done amazing things in Penn State. But you are out of your mind. They're not beating the SEC. Come on, dude.
Well,
come on, man.
You have to compete with Ohio State, and Michigan is so-so. So if Ohio State and Michigan leaves the conference and James Franklin probably goes to another team, they may win the national championship. I don't know.
I think Penn State's got a fine team, but they're not winning it. I'm sorry, bro. I just can't go with that.
But they had a great showing in the playoffs. I was impressed with Penn State. They came to play.
They came to play. They will do well. We'll give you that much. They're not winning the whole thing. So that's my prediction.
And now with a 12-team playoff, you don't have to win your conference anymore to make the playoffs. That helps the second-tier top teams make the playoffs, and if you stay healthy, you can make a run and make the championship game.
Yes. So while we're here, we'll just stay with the SEC. Thank you, Broski. We'll just segue off of his comment, and we'll talk about some of the news and notes. And one of the things I sent you today was, it seems like every other day Georgia is getting great recruiting news. I got to say, Kirby is really on fire right now with bringing in the signings to Georgia. Now, I know they could, but it's seemingly that they're offering something, that they're not losing people. We'll say that. They got a kicker. Was it today they got the kicker? or was that yesterday? They've been bringing in offensive line talent.
Wednesday they got a kicker, and Thursday they got a punter. So the number one punter and the number one kicker. So
yeah. So salute to whoever is paying all the money for the NILs because that didn't happen without that money being there. So I think Kirby's like, let's get the players in here and we'll kick some butt. So, and those were areas of need. They were areas of need. They've been a little thin actually behind the main guy and those positions. So those are areas of need. The team, I believe, will have a really good year. I don't know if they're going to win the thing, but it's all going to come down to that same old story for Georgia, the quarterback play. I think they've got enough everywhere else, but he's got to have a good season.
Yeah, a kicker can win you a game at the end, and a punter can give you good field position the whole game. So both are important positions.
I watched one of the press conferences with Kirby. It's not been maybe a week or two ago, and he seemed to be very confident that they're really good across the board. The problem is they're inexperienced, and so he says we're a little bit behind, and they're not used. They're still getting them really in game day shape. Not that they're out of shape, but they're not in Georgia's game day shape. And so it's not clicking just exactly yet. But he said, we're going to work them. But he said they're eager. They're flying all over the field. He had no complaints about the effort, no complaints about the skill. It's just that sometimes they haven't put it all together. And some of the, they were interceptions. There were things that happen, people out of position because of inexperience. But he likes his team. I think he's excited about this team that he has, and now he's filling in some pieces behind that that will come along. So I think they're looking pretty good, man. Like I said, we'll do here in probably a couple of weeks. We'll start going through. We'll start a camp tour. We'll go to every school in the SEC, and we'll continue on the ACC. It doesn't matter to me. Pick out a few other schools, but we'll do that in a couple of weeks because we didn't plan on doing that. Okay. But I would say, just looking at it, there's three teams that stand out to me, maybe four. I say three that are going to be really strong in the SEC that could win it all. How do you see that, James? And I didn't name them yet. I just wanted what you think.
I could see it being a 3 or 4 team race. To me, it really depends on Alabama and Tennessee. How good are they going to be this year? Will one drop off, or will they both compete? For the SEC championship. But
I think Tennessee is not. I'm not saying they're going to fall. I don't think they match what they did. I think they'll be decent because he's really recruited well. But this change at quarterback, even though now the fans are, he couldn't take us there. Well, that was the guy that you said could take you there. And they've got some solid play behind him in place of him now that he's gone. But I don't think that I don't think that they have they're not going to have the running game that they had last year. Hello. So I, in Alabama, it's a little bit of a mystery to me, just because there's some things we don't know about them. Texas is going to be really good. We know that, without a doubt. Yeah, very, very good. And I still think that I've just got a belief that Florida and LSU are going to be really good this year. They really got some solid recruits for a good long time. Broski, that comment is little Gunnar Stockton starting at quarterback. Let me say that hunker down, you hairy dog, Gunnar Stockton is starting at quarterback.
Stetson Bennett wasn't that big, and he, wasn't that highly rated, but yet he won a national championship. So it really depends on your heart sometimes, not just your height and your hand size and all that. So.
It's another good question. Are you buying into the Arch Manning hype? He says, I'm not.
I saw that. I'm not either.
Hi. Well, but I think greatness is not there yet.
I saw it, and I just told I don't think so. I just definitely not.
He's got talent, but he's also shown himself not to be ready at times. He seemed to be not really I know he come in cold. I get that. But he came into that Georgia game, he was shell shocked. He wasn't ready for that. For all the people talking for him to replace the other quarterback. And I know he has some good games against lesser talent, but his Texas he's got a great team. But I don't think that he's top caliber yet. Broski also says the LSU should be tough. That. If Florida's quarterback situation is decent, they're going to be a really good team this year. I believe that. So
Florida's got a top-notch quarterback.
Yeah, if he can play well, because there's experience with him, he's awesome. Yeah. But if he can work out the kinks, they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough. In fact, I would move them ahead of Tennessee in my preseason rankings.
Yeah.
Based on Tennessee losing their quarterback, Florida's got theirs, and I think talent-wise, it's at least close. I give the edge back to Florida in the standings preseason. So just throwing that out there. We'll break that down and go through it. Another team that struggled and not really shown themselves to be worthy yet is Texas A&M. They've not played as well as in previous years.
Yeah.
We're cracking little storms here right now, so
we are.
If we blip a little bit, that's why it just started thundering. So another good question. You know what? I never thought I'd say this. I love watching some South Carolina action. And there's one reason why. Now, he has put a decent product on the field. He's got some talent there. He's got he's got some horses.
Yeah.
They got size, they got speed. They're good.
Nothing wrong with their defense.
But their problem is, as good as he's done, Beamer's the problem. He takes things so personal. So and what I mean by watching the game, I like to watch a little bit of the game, and I like for him to struggle and lose it late, or do really good but lose late, because the press conference is absolutely golden to watch little Beamer, Frank's boy. He cries. He gets his feelings hurt. He got a chip on his shoulder. He's got his elbows out. He's making excuses, and he won't give credit to the other team like he should. He's really not. That's why it's good. Later on, he calms down. He clarifies the comments. But catch him right after a really close game where they blow it or get beat, long touchdown, whatever, pushed around. Oh, he comes in, and he can't hide it. He's really good for an interview. But that's a good sleeper. I wouldn't. That's according to what you're defining as a sleeper.
Well, they do play Alabama, so if you can find a way to win that game, and you don't have any losses at that point, you're going to be ranked right there in the top 10, most likely. So, I mean, South Carolina is really always about the quarterback. They try to get Spencer Rattler and do something with him, and it's just they can put it together on the defense, but as far as the quarterback situation, they can't figure it out.
Yeah, and a few years ago, Georgia went into what's their stadium called? I forget. I know it. They played that.
Bryant Denny, I think.
Yeah, well, not Bryant. Anyway, whatever it's called. And Georgia got waxed. Georgia didn't come to play that night. And South Carolina, it's been several years ago, and we got pushed all over the field. And we had to hear that. What is that song they played? Oh, man, what is that? Somebody help us to the chat. Saying something, whatever. I don't know. They play it over and over again. It's like having to listen to Rocky Top.
But they have that rooster call, every time they have a first down, you hear the rooster. So that's kind of more annoying to me than the cowbell,
So to beat them there, great. And by the way, I agree with everything you said, but they're not beating Alabama. I just don't see it. But if they did, is that getting in Alabama or South Carolina? Do you remember?
Yeah.
I don't remember where it's at. Probably heard that.
I did.
Yeah, he says he's a little brat, and he is. That's a good description. That's what he reminds me of. And he says South Carolina might have a quarterback this season. Yeah, we'll do a camp breakdown. We're going to look at predictions for these teams, and we'll start the SEC tour in 2 weeks. That's a good time. We'll be right there getting ready to go into July NFL camp. So we're also going to do team breakdowns for the NFL. So we'll do a synopsis, one for each. We'll go through the SEC and through the NFL. It'll take us. We may have to do 2 teams to get them in, maybe 3 before the start of the season. Maybe we look at a conference, like we'll look at the NFC South, and we'll just go team by team breakdown. And then each week we'll also look at a college team in the SEC and some other teams as well. We might have to go to hour and a half because we got a lot to get in.
Yeah,
it's fixing to get really crazy on the sports front. Anything else on that? I was a good segue into SEC. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the recruiting for Georgia. I haven't heard of any other really big news coming out of the conference. Have you, James?
Well, they released the schedule the other day, and Georgia does play Alabama at night on September 27th, I think. And it's in Athens at night. So the whole stadium's red, at night. So they don't get to play a lot of night games in Athens. So it's going to be a big game on September 27th. That's like the 3rd week of September. So they released a lot of their night game schedules, and so there's a lot of interesting night games for the SEC that's going to be happening this year.
Hey, I've got a quick call. Just talk for a minute if you don't care, James. I'm gonna mute my mic just for a second and talk about that schedule, the Georgia schedule. If you don't mind, go through that schedule and give us the games.
Okay. Yeah, they have a lot of early games that they're playing this year and against quality teams. So it's going to be very interesting with their games, the way it's shaking up for Georgia and Alabama, and so it's going to be interesting right off the bat. You get to find out real early, who's the top dog, because you play a lot of tough games real early. So it's going to be great to watch early in the season. So it's always good to have because they play Marshall August 30th, then Austin Peay. Then after Austin Peay, September 6th, it really starts for Georgia. You play at Tennessee in Knoxville on September 13th, and you play Alabama at home on the ABC at night. And then you play Kentucky on October 4th, and Auburn on October 11th. Then you play Ole Miss at home. Then Florida is going to be played at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and so that's a different place for Georgia and Florida to be playing this year. And then they play Mississippi State at Mississippi State on November the 8th. And Georgia plays Texas at home on November 15th. So that'll be a heavyweight matchup late in the season. Then you have Charlotte and Georgia Tech to finish it off. Usually the rival game is the last game, and it finishes it off. So it's going to be an interesting year for a lot of these SEC teams, and you get to find out real early who the top dog really is, because and you can lose a game early, and it won't hurt you as much, but you can't lose 2 or 3 games early. You got to stay within the pecking order, because the way the SEC is set up now, the top 2 teams play each other at the end of the year. So if you got a 2 or 3 loss record, you're probably not one of the top 2 teams in the SEC.
Right.
So you gotta stay on pace with everybody else. Because Ole Miss last year, they did not want to play in the ACC championship. They were like, we don't want that because that would hurt us playing in the national championship if we lose that game. But they ended up losing to Florida last year, which that hurt them anyway. But a lot of teams late in the year, they don't want that extra loss to knock them out of the playoffs. And they're doing the playoffs different this year, where the conference champions still get seeded, but they're not necessarily going to get seeded 1 through 4. So they'll still get an automatic bid, but they're changing it up because a lot of the other schools didn't like it that the conference champions had that bye week. So it's going to be based more on the rankings this year than it was last year. So it'll be different, confusing again probably. But they're still trying to work out the kinks of the 12-team playoff, which I think they should have went from 4 to 8, but going from 4 to 12 just kind of muddied it up a little bit.
I think so. Thank you, Broski, for reminding me of that crappy song, Sandstorm. I hate it. I'm sorry. I'll say South Carolina fans, I hate it. He also says Georgia, Tennessee, week 3, then home against Bama week 4. And then he says, am I reading Georgia's schedule correct? Only 3 road games? And then he says, what kind of candy?
A neutral site. So, when you play 2 or 3 neutral sites, you don't really have a true road game.
Yeah. Broski just cracked a bat on her dog.
Yeah, he did.
That's okay. That's okay. Broski. Bro.
But, Georgia is one of the highest rated teams. More people watch Georgia, like Alabama, than they will, other teams. So, you want a team that's going to get the high ratings to be on, the primetime slots and all that all the time. Because, if you got a certain team, you're going to get a certain rating for it.
Yeah, and let me just say it now. I don't know if you heard it when he said it. My co-host has said that Uga's ugly, and I had to really get on to him about that. I said, you call yourself a Georgia fan and you call them Uga ugly? Come on, man. So y'all.
It's not about Rob tonight.
Yeah, Rob called. Yeah, not these guys.
No, I wouldn't say that. What are you talking about?
My co-host the rest of the time, he says ugly. I'm like, what is that? Come on. So when y'all get the chat, throw that in there every once in a while.
I will.
Every once in a while, just while he's fired up and he's on his soapbox and he's talking about leftist and all the stuff he's read, throw that in there and just say something like, Uga's beautiful.
That's right. That's right.
And he'll look down and say that. It'll mess him up. He said, why are that? Well, we always play the one against Florida's neutrals.
Yeah.
What's the other one? They played in Georgia.
I think Georgia Tech is also neutral as well.
Which one?
Georgia Tech. I think they play at Mercedes-Benz as well this year.
I think so. So it is a neutral sort, even though it's in the same city. So, yeah. Take that. All right, let's segue. We'll come back to SEC football. We're going to be talking a lot about it. Let's transition here. Caitlin Clark is coming back from her injury. I think even playing tonight, James, I think.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't understand the haters on her. She is driving that league right now.
Yeah, they need as many Caitlin Clarks as they can get.
Her sitting on the sideline is not a help to the league.
No.
So they better be kissing the courts, get down the court and kiss it and say thank you that Caitlin Clark is coming back tonight. Right. Because any game that she plays in is pretty much guaranteed to be a set. All the media is going to cover that game.
Right.
And you're gonna sell merchandise, and it actually promotes the whole sport and all the players. And I know that they love that, but it's just amazing to me that there's all these people that are eating themselves, and they're like trying to throw her out of the game.
Yeah.
Don't they realize they're playing themselves out of a paycheck? Her being in the league, her doing as well as she's doing, driving that league is making their paychecks better.
It is.
I don't understand that.
To me, she's like the Michael Jordan of the WNBA right now. I mean, she's driving the ratings, and you need more of that. You don't need less of that. You don't need her on the sidelines all the time.
But I guarantee you, in this game, there'll be at least one technical foul where somebody comes along and just drills her.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like hockey out there.
We're talking about dirty play, and they're trying to knock her out of the games.
Yeah.
I hope she scores 50 tonight. I really do. But it's good for the league, and little girls are looking up to her.
Right.
And it's not a put down of any other player, but they're making themselves look really bad by going after her all the time, and it's just pure jealousy. That's all.
Yeah, it's real obvious when it happens about every game. You know,
I will swing that around and throw it out there a little bit different way. And here's my take on it. It's kind of like the band that don't like their lead singer.
Right.
And so they argue and fight all the time. And it's like somebody has to be the bigger person to step up and go, okay, he may be a jerk, and she's not, but the lead singer might be a jerk because a lot of lead singers, they got egos, big egos.
Right.
But you know what? We're making a whole lot more money with him than without him.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I work out your differences. Play tough, play to the crowd, pump your chest, all that stuff. But don't knock out the golden egg.
That's right.
Of the league.
That's right.
And if Mom's watching tonight, Kyle Busch was like that at one time. He was a jerk, but he could win all the time. And now Kyle Busch ain't really winning as much anymore, and people aren't reckoning him as much anymore. But he can still complain about it all the time. But a person like Kyle Busch, that just you want to wreck him. You want him out of the race because he's going to complain whether you wreck him or not. So
put Kyle Busch in a nursing home is what I say. It needs to be in a nursing home.
I'm going to throw this comment up at Broski, his mic drop comment, and then we're going to Dean's notes because we're going to segue to racing right there. And I do want to talk about this Mexico race.
Yeah.
And there's big news that's coming out of the race already.
Yeah, they are.
And then we'll talk about Braves out of that. But Broski, you are on your own, bro. You are on your own. Here we go. Only sportswoman player: cooking, baking, vacuuming, bathroom cleaning. Mic drop. Broski Bear is a Jersey boy, if I remember right, who's living in North Carolina. I won't say where.
Wow.
But you can send all letters to North Carolina.
Yeah.
All you ladies, because he wanted. Hey, he put it out there. I'm putting it up. So it's a mic drop, but you might get hit over the head with that mic.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Mom might have to put another quarter in the tip jar.
You're right. You're right.
Just kidding, Mom. I am proud of you, though, for putting the quarter in the tip jar. Oh. Nope, never, ever. I'm from Jersey because I'm not. I thought you were. Jake says, there's a lot of women athletes that are going into professional wrestling. And he's got to fix the song that he made for him and Rock. For those that don't know, Jake's been wanting to do a wrestling show with us for months and months. And I've told him that I will do one with him once a month for right now. And he's made a song. He's got to fix it. And I have no idea where this is going to go. Feel free to anybody wants to jump into a wrestling show because I'm out of my element a little bit, except for old time wrestling.
Right.
We will announce when that's going to be, but I told Jake I've been putting it off. Oh, I'm sorry. I just slammed you by saying Jersey. But you know what? That's what you get for cracking on my dog.
Sounds like you're for Jersey, don't it?
Really?
Hey, don't besmirch the beloved dogs down here.
That's right.
Georgia.
Who let the dogs out?
All right, it's time for Dean's notes. We're going to talk racing first. And, Dean, somebody's going to be missing from the race.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin.
And why is Denny Hamlin going to miss the race?
Because his wife had a baby.
His wife had a baby.
Yeah, that's called a bereavement,
Yeah.
That's a
good reason to miss the race,
But he gets a waiver, NASCAR says if you have a kid, a death in a family, a marriage, you get a waiver, automatic waiver.
Yeah, he said if I heard it right, he said if Mexico wasn't so far away, he might do it, but he was just staying home.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Dean. What I heard is that he does lose points, but he's won so much he's okay.
Right.
So it's not like He doesn't get the points, but it doesn't hurt him other than that.
Right. That's right.
So, and who's driving the car for him? Is it Truex?
Yeah, Ryan Truex.
Okay.
I might just read.
Okay.
Truex is driving the car.
Right.
Denny Hamlin, who has raced so strong. This would be a good chance to check and see how much is the car and how much is Denny.
Yeah.
Nothing against Truex. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, Dean, what you got?
Okay. NHRA.
Drag racing, baby.
Yes.
There you go.
Tony Stewart. The points leader in the Top Fuel is the first career qualifier and winning the Mission 2 Fast 2 Taste Challenge specialty race. First time during the Super Grip NHRA Thunder Valley in Bristol.
Ah, cool. I like it.
Oh, I did too. Okay, James, here's the Braves notes.
Okay.
Ready for it.
Bring it on.
Okay, Braves defeated Boston Red Sox 5-31-25. Coaching staff will be led by Chipper Jones and Marcus Grissom.
Okay.
Jones has played for the Braves 93, 94, coach for 21 to present. Braves' highest paid players has been Austin Riley, 27 years old, third baseman, man since 2019.
Yeah.
Matt Olson, 30 years old, first baseman since 2022. Chris Sale, 35 years old, left-handed pitcher, acquired 2024. Not only highest paid, but closer to Braves' success 2025 season.
Yeah.
Here's a trivia for y'all.
Okay.
Chief Nakahoma started in 2064 in Milwaukee. Name was announced July 26, 66.
Wow, you're after I was born.
When did the Braves move to Atlanta? 1966 from Milwaukee.
Yep.
Braves played in Boston from 1871 to 1963.
And I'm old enough to remember Chief Nakahoma. And
he came to my school one time.
Really? And he had the heritage. I mean, like, how is that bad? The guy had the heritage, and he didn't do anything that was derogatory. And to me, again, it's culturally, how many kids probably saw that and it got them interested in studying about Indian heritage? I just don't. We're losing the fun things of the uniqueness of all sports. All sports. New York has said they're going to ban all mascots that have anything to do with American Indian heritage.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's ridiculous.
It is.
It's absolutely an overreach.
Right.
If there is some lame brain school out there that has a mascot that is a mockery, then address it.
Right.
But you're taking away those things that everybody grew up with.
Right.
They don't look at it as a put down.
No.
They adore it.
Right.
Yeah.
James, it just drives me crazy.
It does me too.
Yeah, to me, it's like taking the president's name off of a school. Yeah, and George Washington was a very important president in our country. Why would you want to take his name off? He didn't do anything to us, you know. But people are just so offended by every little thing nowadays, and it's sad.
It is.
So the two biggest teams, if I remember off the top of my head, that have had their name changed was the Cleveland
Indians,
which are now called the
Guardians.
The Guardians.
Right.
I hate that. And the Washington Redskins.
Right.
Who are now called the Commanders.
And you know, they were just the Washington there for a few years. They couldn't come up with a name.
Yeah.
Right.
Just so, you know, that was just kind of weird to begin with, just to be, you know, not even have a name or a mascot or anything like that. So,
of those two, which is more? How do I put this? which got it better than the other? Like between the Guardians and the Commanders, or does it matter to you?
It don't matter.
I mean, I like the Commanders being in Washington. The Guardians makes no sense for Cleveland. Was it like the Guardians of the Galaxy? I mean, it just
no.
It doesn't go together.
It don't.
You can have another name for the Cleveland team. But it's just they're just so careful not to upend that they just go way out in left field and pick a name, and it's just, to me, it that really hurts your fan base. It's like what Rome did. They changed their name, the Braves affiliate in Rome.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I don't care for that. You could have stayed, the Rome Braves.
Right.
But they, for whatever reason, they changed the name, and their attendance is nowhere near what it used to be.
No, it ain't.
People associated the Braves, and they wanted to go watch the Braves play.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people in Cleveland wanted to watch the Indians play.
Right. And the Redskins,
Yeah. But with the Redskins, that Daniel Snyder, the owner, he was not a very good owner. No. They were just trying to, get away from all that, I think, and it's a bad look to me.
Well, you got Joe Gibbs, the owner of NASCAR, owner of the Joe Gibbs Racing, coach for the Redskins.
Yeah, he was a coach. I mean, he was a decent coach for the Washington Redskins.
Took them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Mark Rippon, right? Was that Mark Rippon?
Yep.
No.
Doug Martin, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Do you see them ever getting those names back?
No.
Or is it over?
No, it's over.
Well, actually, in Cleveland, or no, in Washington, the Redskin tribe, in that area is trying to have the courts, give up, make them take the name back, but it's just.
They should.
I don't know. I think the damage has been done.
Right. That's what I say.
And isn't there some Indian groups that are with them in that?
Yes.
That were not happy about it themselves? Yes. I think there are a tribe or two that are with them and saying, look, we've lost all the way around here.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it what they were trying to say about and let's be fair. The two points about it was they say the name Redskin was a derogatory term.
Right.
Well, a lot of people could use a term in a negative way, but that name was endeared to those fans.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about their team was built around that, and they loved it. They didn't see it as a derogatory term.
No.
Maybe you just say, listen, we'll pay for some educational things and kind of help, and say how that one time that was, but how today we use it in a better way. Isn't it better to teach kids to overcome those things instead of just running from it? And for I think on the Indians, it was the image.
Right.
Chief Wahoo, was that it?
Yes, Chief Wahoo.
They said that the image was derogatory. Well, can't we just fix it a little bit? I just don't see why we have to lose it.
I don't either.
I am so glad the Atlanta Braves, held their ground.
I do too.
Yeah.
They were
for now.
Said, you're going to lose your name too. And they said, no, we're not.
No, we're not.
We're not doing it.
But
usually ownership, when you have new ownership, you'll have, ownership not wanting to upend and not wanting to do this. So sometimes your new ownership will make changes that shouldn't, don't really need to be made.
Right.
So sometimes that plays into it as well with the new ownership.
I agree.
And while we're kind of talking around baseball, and the Braves are horrid.
Yeah, they are horrid.
Where do they go from here, man? I mean, they've got all these great pieces, but they also need something. Is it time to change the coach? Is where I'm going.
Yes.
Well, when you bring up a fan favorite like Craig Kimbrell for one inning and he doesn't give up a run, and you send him back down, knowing if you send him back down, you lose the guy.
Yeah.
Somebody's not making good decisions in that organization, whether it be general manager, the coach, the manager, the third base coach, because they brought in Freddie Gonzalez as the third base coach. And I kind of think they did that as strategically in case Snitker was let go. You can kind of let Freddie Gonzalez be the interim manager until the end of the year because they're saying they're not going to make any changes in the middle of the year. But I think that's kind of why Freddie Gonzalez was brought in. He probably got promised in a subtle way, hey, if things keep going off the rail, you're going to be the manager again, which, he was the manager before. And he got fired. He didn't do that well. But you still need somebody that's been there before and knows how to lead in that organization.
And I'm not bashing Snit. I won't say that he's been my favorite. He's done some good things with them. I've also questioned some things. So it's just not a run Snit out of town discussion. It's just I think that they need something. Something's not working.
Yeah. I think he's through. I think he's put through for the Braves.
There's a lot of fans that have not liked him from the get-go. I think the winning it all, it saved him. The fans have not really taken to him. I don't know why.
I mean, when you had Bobby Cox was a legend, because, Bobby, he started out as a general manager. Then he was a manager. Then he left and came back as a manager. And then he had that good run in the 90s, where he won 14 straight division titles. And they were hoping to kind of get the same kind of magic with Snitker. They've just lost too many good position coaches. When you lose from Washington, when you lose, a few others, I think Walt Weiss may or may not be there anymore, and some of the other guys, and the Kevin Seitzer, but I think he went to the A's, and the A's are just hitting lights out. Which when he was with the Braves, kind of didn't hit very well last year either, but they, pitched well enough to make the playoffs. But,
is there a
they need to make some changes.
Is there a player that may be sacrificed to try to make this team better in the second half, or at least playing for next year, that may be up on that upper scale? Maybe there's, I know they've already got rid of one, but is there somebody that they say, I don't know that we have one, but it just seems to me that when things are not going, is it the catcher? Maybe it's the catcher who may be kind of in that spot because they've got options at catcher. Murphy's not the best of the best, but he's done really well. Is that a guy that maybe could be gone?
When you got a guy like Murphy, a good veteran catcher, he's a tradable piece if you could get some good young guys for him. Yeah. And Chris Sale, a playoff team will want Chris Sale to be on their team. Yeah. So he's in jeopardy. And Marcell Ozuna, he's still kind of, you can get some value out of Marcell.
There are some teams that have reached out, I think, have been shown interest in him for the second part of the season because his bat, when it's hot, there are not many hotter than him when he's hot. He's been really consistent, and he stepped it up a little bit. But he can be up and down. He can be up and down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just think maybe they have to start looking that way because the season's taking a wrong turn.
It is taking a wrong turn.
I hope they don't. But their most valuable piece they have is Ronald Acuna. Yeah. And will a team at the trade deadline give you a gold ransom, a king's ransom for Ronald Acuna? I think if a team, calls the Braves and say, "Look, here's what we have. Can we get Ronald Acuna for this?" I think the Braves listen to that offer, and I don't like that, but I think to kind of start over, they may be big time sellers at the trade deadline.
But to me, if you're doing that, and I'm going to come back to that point, that's a really good point. to me, if you do that, Snit can't be your manager. If you're going to make that kind of changes, you've got to make the coaching change as well. My belief.
Yeah.
And the only reason I believe they do that, it'll be a king's ransom.
Oh yeah.
But in the back of my mind, the reason they would make that move and getting all that too is the injuries he's had, and that fear is maybe he can't hold up.
Yeah.
He torques that body. He puts everything in it. And maybe his body can't handle it. It's a little shocking to me that he's had 2 now at such a young age. You just wonder about that. Those start taking their toil.
I don't think it'll happen. 22, if you're 22 and have injuries, you can overcome that. But the closer you get to 30 and you start having knee injuries and hip injuries and, elbow injuries, those type of injuries really affect your play.
That's right.
The closer you get to 30. So I think they may look at Ronald Acuna and say, look, his value is right now. He's healthy. He can help us get better for next year. They were 500, not even a month ago. And now they're 12 or 13 games below 500. Yeah. And it's just because I thought, when he came back, he had that spark that they needed, but they just kept losing those 1-run games. And you can't do that. You got to win those in the late innings. Your bullpen has to hold up to where you can win those close games. And usually the Braves have the bullpen to get through that. And this year, that hasn't worked for them.
No, they don't.
Yeah, and I don't think that they get rid of Acuna because he's so bankable and he's still young and he's so talented. But I absolutely think you're spot on that because their season's going the wrong way, a sale is. I mean, that's an obvious piece. I think the catcher and maybe others that Ozuna. I think your corners are safe. They're not getting rid of the first and third base. They're not getting rid of Albies. I think those are really safe on that infield. If they would, and they would probably want. Obviously, they need another bat.
Yeah,
and they still need pitching. They need pitching. They've got a lot of young arms coming up, but you can always use pitchers. And so there's a possibility.
Past couple of years at the trade deadline, the Braves were rumored to make moves, and they, got a couple of relief pitchers. That's all they did, and that's okay if that's all you need. But this year they need all kind of help. If they're going to make any kind of wild card run, you need several positions, and I just don't think it's there.
Yeah, one more on baseball. Then I want to talk just a little bit about NFL before we lose our time tonight. And this has been great. What about this Brewers pitcher that topped out at 102 and just mowed down? Have you saw this guy? He's 6 foot. Is it 6'7"?
Wow.
He is. He's flamethrower, man. 102 miles an hour. You know that the big boys in the sport are salivating over the opportunity to put him on their team, be they the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Boston. Well, we like to think the Braves would, but the Braves need a real owner. They won't spend the kind of money it would take to get that kind of package. And I don't think they could. They'd have to, unless it was Acuna.
Yeah. He's your valuable piece. And
that's the only way they could pry that guy away. The only way. But
I'd see him going to the Dodgers probably. The Dodgers they're just reloading and reloading and reloading.
You remember when it was only maybe 2 or 3 players in the whole league that could top out at 100? Mark Wohlers was one of those for the Braves.
Yeah.
It used to be a rarity. Now it's become very commonplace. There's quite a few pitchers that can hit 100. Now we're seeing it go past 101's not even out of the mix. But you start saying 102, 103, that's rare. That's the new rare right there. And if you have movement, being able to just slightly change your speeds and have that in your bag, wow.
Yeah.
This guy, and and I think, I could be wrong. I don't remember if he's a left-hander or not. If he's left-hander, wow. I don't remember on that.
Yeah.
All right.
It'd be unhittable.
let's do one more. Let's do NFL, a couple of news and notes, and then we'll check the chat. There's some questions in there and comments. Antonio Brown, what in the world is going on with him? He's wanted for a murder charge.
Yeah.
This guy at one time was as good as anybody.
Oh yeah.
At the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
Nobody could cover this guy.
Yeah.
What, I mean, from that moment he ripped his jersey off and ran off the field. It has been a clown show.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing with Tom Brady, but he just mentally he couldn't keep it together, and sadly, they associate sports with head injuries and things like that, and CTE, and I don't know if that's what's going on with him, but he definitely has some issues that he's not able to work through all the time.
Yeah, something is just not right. And I think back to another guy who wasn't at that level yet, but I thought had tremendous talent, was Ray Caruth for Carolina Panthers. Yeah. And all because his girlfriend's going to have a baby, he puts the hit squad out to take her out.
Yeah.
What is going through these people's heads? My goodness. You have an ability to live your dreams. Yeah. And because, you go out and father a child, you don't want to have to pay for that. You put out the hit squad. Wow. I just think that at one time, Antonio Brown had a chance to do things that nobody else had ever done. He was on that track. And it just has went. And now we got him being wanted for murder charges. It's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable to see that happen. And another racing note, I think it's a racing note. Tell me if I'm wrong, Dean. They have determined that the race car guy, he was retired, who flew his plane into the barn was a suicide.
I've not heard that.
What was that guy's name? I just saw a note on that. Last night or this morning, one.
I'm not saying that. You got me on that.
He was a race car driver. I don't remember if it was Indy or what, but he had health problems and got in his plane and flew it into his own barn and just took himself out. They have determined that was a suicide. Sad note there. Pray for his family. It's got to be heartbreaking to, they may have already known, but still that's very hard.
I'll look that up and I'll make a note of it for next week's show.
Yeah, please. I would like to dive a little deeper. There were drivers that talked about what a inspiration this guy was to them. And I remember the name, but I don't remember a lot about him. I just thought that was interesting.
Let me say one more thing about the race Sunday.
Go right ahead.
It's a 2.67 mile road course, built 1959.
Okay.
NASCAR Cup Series first international race was 1958.
Wow. Yes, the drivers will be trying to keep their breath this week. That's a 3:00 start.
Yes.
3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start. It is over 7,000 feet above sea level.
Yes.
It's going to be a challenge for some drivers, especially old ones like Kyle. Sorry, Mom.
Kyle, do good.
Hamlin, the old dad, Hamlin, he decided to stay home.
Right, he's going to be home.
So he said, I'll just stay here and not have to breathe hard.
Right.
Who else? Keselowski might have a hard time breathing as well.
Yes.
Let's see here. Going back, Mom said, hold on here just a minute. Broski says, I'm sipping bourbon and watching the 1990 Royal Rumble on my
go.
Oh, okay.
1990.
Oh, man.
Mom says 25 cents. I'll probably have a jar full. Hey!
I will say this about the 1990 Royal Rumble. Kurt Hennig should have won that Royal Rumble. But Hogan wanted to look strong for the Ultimate Warrior match, and politics played a big role in that. So
nice.
What
do you guys think about those shows that Discovery has put out, like Street Outlaws? I've not paid a whole lot of attention to them, but I hear good things about them.
Yeah, right.
So y'all have any thoughts on that? I don't.
How about that? It's a good show.
Okay. You're on your own, broski. You are on your own. You and Spartan over here in Rumble Studio. Yes, I did read that, Jay. Yes, we are having another show. And what else we got here? Just a question. What's on the hat in the picture that's in? I believe that is the dog, Jake. Okay, yeah, he repeated it, and it will be 8 bells. So here soon, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the Front Porch Talking co-host Rob for that show. So, any last thoughts, guys? And we'll catch you next week, and we'll continue the discussion. And in 2 weeks, we'll start doing breakdowns of SEC schools and NFL. And next week, there's a lot of finals. We didn't get to the hockey. We'll say it real quick. They're tied at 3, I believe, apiece.
Well, it's 2-2.
2-2. I'm
Game
sorry.
5 is tonight, and in the NBA, the Pacers lead OKC 2-1 in Game 4 tonight. So there are a lot of good playoff games to watch tonight in other sports.
So watch some ball, watch some hockey, and next week we'll talk about who came out on top. So that'll be fun to talk about next week. We probably should have spent more time on the playoff stuff. We will. We just kind of got going into it. We'll get finding our feet under us, and we'll do that. And we are fixing to be hammered with all the sports that's rolling towards us. So I love it. Dave, get some water because you got a show in about 30 minutes. I got water right here, brother. I'm good. I keep water in the studio, so I'm all good. Any closing thoughts, guys? Closing thoughts.
I don't have them besides Sunday's Mexico.
And your call on that race was who's winning?
I'm gonna go with Chase on this one.
Chase.
I'd say William Byron.
Byron. Yeah, definitely. I mean, those are good picks. Hamlin's not going to win. We know that.
No. Kyle Busch ain't going to win.
He's not going to be there, so he can't win. The car could win.
Hey, if Kyle can stay away from the tequila, he might finish in the top 10. Yeah.
Might, but he won't do it.
I think Hosefer could be up there.
Yeah.
Something tells me Larson, as I get close to the race.
Yeah.
Something tells me Larson wants this one bad.
Yeah. I look for Larson to get back into his winning ways real soon. If not this race, maybe the next couple of races. He's just too good of a driver this year to, not win for long.
That was a very nice comment. Thank you so much. By the way, Jake is a content creator, active all over the place. Give him a follow from the great state of Mississippi.
There you go.
Jake has done some stuff for us. We appreciate it. And he kind of mods us over there at Twitch, and he is up to a Discord. And he's a right down to the ground fine fella, and we appreciate him very much. Enjoy the sports this weekend. Mm-hmm. Remember to give Rob a hard time whenever you're in the chat.
Oh, I will.
Just every once in a while, splice that in.
Oh, I will.
That UGA is beautiful.
Yeah. That's right.
He will love it.
Yeah.
We need to get one of you. I should have somebody that has a. Of course, he'd want me to ban him, but put a fake name and you could change. You could make the name. I don't know. Pelosi loves Georgia football or something. I don't know. That would kill him. He'd be like, "What? What is that? Get out of here." Spartan, good to have you over here. I'm not putting that comment up. At some point, it will work against the host. The crew here does not want that. They just don't want that. We don't. Sorry, brother. You're the king of posts that I can't put up. So, but we're glad you stopped by. Hey, folks, have a great night.
Thanks, folks.
James, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Mom.
Sorry for the delay, folks, but hey, I'm glad we got it. Life is life.
We got it.
Funerals happen.
Right.
Yeah. Good night to the precious little girls there. And,
that's right.
And yes, to Jake's point, happy Father's Day early to all the dads. Absolutely. It's a blessing to be a father and now a grandfather for me. So what a blessing that is, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support, Southern Fried. Don't forget Patriot Mobile, promo code Cornbread. Our other affiliates, Mammoth Nation, who has a half price sale right now on lifetime membership. They have cut it in half. They are awesome. And there's the ad right there. W Energy Drinks and Podbean. Lots going on here at Southern Fried. We are trying to put our logos together right now, and names for the coffee. Next week, I hope to finalize everything and have a release date announced for the coffee by the end of the week. So that is job number one next week, besides shows that we do, is to get the coffee from the Southern Fried ready to go. So we'll try to have news on that as well. All right, let's throw some music up and then we'll get out of here, guys. Let's see.
Great show, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, great show. Thank you, guys. Y'all are amazing. Y'all make it.
I enjoyed it.
Make it so enjoyable, and I appreciate it so very much.
I learned from it every week. I learned.
Salute, fist bump to our friend there on over here. There we go.
Yeah.
Take care, folks.